If you guys are paying attention to what's going on in the government, Elizabeth Warren is putting a new tax proposal on the docket. And so just yesterday, she announced a new proposal that is completely insane. It's a wealth tax, not an income tax. So you're not being taxed on money that you're making. This is a tax on the things that you own. It is confiscatory. It is the government stealing from you. This new proposal is another one in an endless parade of economically illiterate politicians that are robbing American workers blind. You guys are being robbed blind with deficit spending, fraud, and then they erode their own tax base because wealth will flee. The second you start doing this stuff, the people that can move will move. This is the Ultra-Millionaire tax, as it's lovingly being called. It would impose an annual 2% tax on the net worth of households and trusts over $50 million and an additional 1% surtax on billionaires. So net worth over $1 billion. Remember, this is all about net worth. The bill has 45 co-sponsors in the House. It's led by Reps Pramila Jayapal and Brendan Boyle. The tax base would consist of a household's financial and non-financial assets, stocks, land, things like that, all at market prices as the IRS determines it, which will, of course, absolutely crater when people go to sell them. Now, they will have to sell them to pay the tax because these are unrealized gains. I'm trying to protect myself, obviously, but I'm also trying to protect the middle class. What's my North Star? A thriving middle class. I'm all about human flourishing. You don't have to believe me, just watch the things that I actually do. Now, in the bill to deter avoidance, right? Because that's the big narrative, that the wealthy don't pay their fair share, keeping in mind that only 50% of Americans actually pay tax. It's like the top 1% pay something like 90% of the taxes. It's absurd. So that whole argument is just completely ridiculous. And let's also remember, underlying all of this, you don't have a balanced budget. And so instead of saying, hey, let's get our together like we would expect of any American, let's balance our budget first and then seek additional tax revenue. Now, to deter avoidance, the bill has proposed a 40% exit tax on anyone worth more than $50 million who renounces their American citizenship. Now, to me, this is like the new Boston Tea Party. This is the line in the sand. Like this I'll just completely change my life around this because it's so fucking ridiculous and is the nail in the coffin of the middle class. It will not come back. You will spend 100 years as a backwater nation. And so, yeah, just brace yourselves for that. If you don't believe me, go look at the history of people that went from second, third biggest economy in the world to just falling off an absolute cliff. Argentina being one of the most profound examples, just absolutely tragic. If you look at it regionally, same thing. You have Cuba thriving and then completely backwards now for 50, 60, 70 years, something like that. When it happens, and it happens for a very long time. Now, anybody that can propose this kind of thing, they are showing you a stunning lack of how unrealized gains works. This is like telling someone that if they want to own a car, they have to give over the carburetor in order to have the car. You have to break the car apart to pay the fee for owning the car. It doesn't make any sense. One of two people is going to bat for this. Somebody who is stunningly economically illiterate. Do not let those people run your country. Number two, someone who would like to destroy your country because they believe that prosperity itself is the problem. Both of those people, literally, get them all the out. This is so crazy. If we elect people that actually want to destroy the economy, we are going to go down very rapidly. There's a notion here called mark-to-market taxation. When you're looking at the unrealized gains, you say, hey, what's the market value if they were to sell this? So this requires the annual valuation of assets that lack a clear sale price. Normally, we just say, well, you sold it. That's when we're going to tax you. So now we know. We don't have to guess. That's what it sold for. Okay? Doing this way, not having an actual sale price, is exceedingly complex, potentially quite economically damaging, by the way. It may necessitate the liquidation of some or all of the assets to pay the taxes on the valuation. I bet the people proposing this bill hate big corporations, but guess what? Wealth taxes will 100% lead to less market competition, make the corporations that they hate much bigger. It's going to massively increase corporate consolidation because a small business will not have the cash to pay their tax bill. I get that these ideas sound good on paper, but the reality is they end up hurting the average person. When you have a government that refuses to balance its budget and thinks that it can just tax its way to prosperity, the builders stop building, they leave, and the tax base begins to dwindle. I don't need you to look any farther than going back 3 years in New York City. This is not, I wonder if this will happen. It's happening right now.
Chat has kind of been mixed all over the place with this topic so far. I'm noticing on both sides of people who like it and people who don't like it. Well, if this doesn't pass, should we then do things such as closing loopholes that hurt the middle class or prevent the rich from being able to get loans against their assets as a way around their taxes?
This is so wild. Guys, balance the budget. The way that your money gets stolen from you, and it is being stolen from you, is through a very simple mechanism. That mechanism is money printing. You money print because you're deficit spending. If you're not deficit spending, you don't have to money print. Once people understand your money's not being stolen from you because the wealthy aren't paying their fair share and they're avoiding taxes, if your mentality is, it's never enough and I don't need to be held accountable to my results, just give me more money, and the act of giving me more money is the only thing that matters, which is how we govern right now. Remember, the reason the wealthy are getting wealthier at a runaway pace is because of deficit spending and money printing. It is not because they have done something wrong, that they are taking money out of somebody else's pocket. It is because money has to go somewhere to hide from money printing. So if you have money and you're just saving it in your bank, right this very minute, you're being stolen from because we're money printing. Right now, the numbers, at least this is pre-war, at least $40 billion a month. Just created out of thin air. Right now, that's standing policy. That's where your money's going. You have to balance your budget at some point, right? At some point, you simply must balance your budget because you will run out of money.
A lot of the chat has been bringing up everyone's favorite Texas transplant and saying Elon Musk, he gets to take out hundreds of billions of dollars in loans against these stocks. How in any way does that not harm the middle class?
Yeah, tax it.
How much would you say tax it though? Like what if you were to
20%?
Label how that system would work?
Just treat it like he's taking capital out. You're not going to tax it at the full rate or tax it at the full rate, but let him deduct the interest. Sure. And by the way, that's people actually understanding how the economy works, because that creates, like if he borrows $200 billion, whatever, against his assets, that $200 billion just poof, came out of nowhere. It didn't exist and now it exists. So it's an inflationary event. Now, if it's one-to-one with productivity, you don't really feel it. The odds that all of this stuff would be one-to-one with productivity is effectively zero because so much money is driving up the value of that stuff because they're trying to hide from inflation. But yeah, I have no beef with that. Let's go.
We're talking a lot about balancing the budget. From your perspective, if you were in a position to balance the budget, what would that actually look like? And how, as the middle class, like what should we be asking for?
This would be something that I'm going to give you an answer because I hate it when people dodge questions, but to have a real answer, you need somebody that actually has access to the budget, where we're spending money, all of that. And so I don't know all of the line items, but the things that I would look at will go something like this. Your education system is so flawed that you're almost hopeless. So I would be starting there. Anywhere where there's a strong driving union inside of a governmental agency, I'm going to be looking at that because I need to see outcomes that justify the expense. We spend more per student than almost anywhere else on earth. I think we do spend more. I don't even think it's like. I think we spend more than anywhere else on earth and we're routinely in the middle of the pack. You're almost certainly going to have to raise the retirement age. So we have a demographic problem. Right now we are a column, and the way that, meaning we have as many old people as mid as young, and it's slowly inverting. And so it's doing this. And over time, we're going to get to the point, if our birth rates continue, where we've got way more old people that are outside of the workforce. And so you've got to keep people in the workforce longer. We have an obscene amount of fraud. I'm going to guess it's hundreds of billions, if not edging up to $1 trillion. And that's annually. And we will have to get that down as much as you can. I don't think anybody's ever going to get it to zero, but you're going to need to get it much, much, much lower. Then we're going to have to continue to deregulate so that we can actually generate more revenue, more taxes without having to increase the percentage, which is where you run into trouble. If you actually want to generate more tax revenue, then you just need more revenue at the same tax rate. If you focus on that, good things come of it. If you focus the other way around, all kinds of bad things come of it. But there are going to be consequences to deregulating. Now, I don't think that we're anywhere near any of those consequences being bad right now. I think that we've got an absolute absurd amount of regulations, but just know that everything is going to be a set of trade-offs. We're probably also going to need to free up some economic bandwidth by doing things like some debt forgiveness based on some things, some soft defaulting. We'll have to work through that well, as that isn't going to be easy, but that's where I would start. Thanks for watching this clip from the Tom Bilyeu Show. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss one of these in the future. And if you want to catch us live, you can join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. I hope to see you there.